Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Sad and today we'll be taking a look at all the cards that are going to be added to Hearthstone in the upcoming Curse of Naxxramas expansion, due for release July 22nd. First up we have a druid card called Reincarnate. This destroys a friendly minion and then returns to life with full health. It's nice to see the Shaman gain some extra healing abilities, and I think this card is going to be very interesting, especially considering all the new Death Rattle cards that are about to be added to the game. Next up we have Poison Seeds, a druid card which destroys all minions and replaces them with 2/2 trends. I think this is going to be a very potent thing, especially considering all the buffs that the druid has, but this can backfire, I think, quite badly if you're playing against another deck which also has a lot of buffs like Paladin or Shaman, so use it at your own risk. Now we have the Web Spinner. This is the first Death Rattle card we're looking at. When this dies, you can draw a random beast card. This is exclusive to the Hunter, and I think this is going to be a card we're going to be seeing a lot of because Hunters will be removing all the other beasts from their decks except big stuff like King Crush, allowing them to get that out very, very early. So yeah, this is definitely an interesting one. Next up, we have a Paladin card, Avenge. When one of your minions dies, you give a friendly minion a +3/+2. This is a very potent thing, especially considering that it costs only 1. If you can sacrifice something cheap like a Silverhand Knight, you can buff another creature. That's a quite generous buff. This is very decent, and for the cost, I think it's great value. Now we have Duplicate, a mage card. When a friendly minion dies, you put 2 copies of it into your hand. This is quite frankly overpowered. If you add the right minions, if you can just duplicate like something very potent like Alarmobots or really any card that just synchronizes well, you can really overwhelm your opponent. So yeah, we're going to be seeing a lot of this. This is a very great card. Next up we have a warrior card, Death's Bite. This Death Rattle deals 1 damage to all minions. So this is the first weapon we'll be seeing with Death Rattle, and fairly as weapons go, this is actually not quite a good one. It costs 4, it's for 4 damage and 2 use, but the Death Rattle is quite interesting. I think if you use this right with enough charge and smaller minions, you can actually make very good use out of it. Next up is the Rogue card, Anubar Ambusher. Return a friendly minion to her hand upon the death of this creature. Rogues seem to be working with this new bounce strategy, and I don't think we'll be seeing a lot of this card, but in the right bounce deck that really relies on returning minions to your hand, this could be something interesting. Priests are getting Dark Cultists. The Death Rattle giveth friendly minion +3 health. This is actually very good for the cost, 3 mana for a 3/4 creature, and if you combine this with bigger creatures like Roar of the Arena, I think you can get some good value out of this, especially if you buff it up. Warlocks get Void Caller. Death Rattle, put a demon from your hand onto the battlefield. This is going to be very dangerous, especially with the bigger Warlock demons like Pit Lord and Doomguard. Though I think in the right situation, it can also be very hazardous if you get something like a Flame Bounce instead of what you want. And it's not particularly good cost. 4 for 3/4 is not wonderful. Okay, now we're getting to the main cards. These will be available to all classes, and you'll gain them by playing through the expansion. We'll start from the lower costs and work our way up. First up, we have the Undertaker. Whenever you summon a minion with Death Rattle, gain +1/+1. This is very cheap and very squishy. It's only a 1/2, but considering all the Death Rattle that's getting added to the game, I think this could become quite something powerful later on if you get enough Death Rattle cards on the board. Zombie Chow. Death Rattle restore 5 health to the enemy hero. I don't know why this exists. There's a 1 cost for 2/3, which frankly is not excellent, and the Death Rattle only really doesn't do any benefit to you. So yeah, this is going to be use at your own discretion card. Nerubar Weblord. Minions Battlecry cost +2 more. This will be useful if you know your opponent's deck and you know that they have a lot of Battlecry minions. But quite frankly, outside of that, it also has very decent health for its cost. The 2 costs with 4 health, that's actually pretty decent. If you add this to a buff-heavy deck, I think it's going to be great value. Nerubarian Egg. Death Rattle, summon a 4/4 Nerubian. For the cost, this is actually great. If you consider you get a 4/4 out of it, and there's a 0/2 on the board. In the meantime, you can still buff up, but the 4/4 is the real draw here. So that's quite, I think, a great card. Unstable Ghoul, Death Rattle, deal 1 damage to all minions, also has Taunt. This is a very good early game creature, I think, especially considering it's only 2 cost, and you get a 1/3, and it damages everything on the board when it dies. This is going to be a very good early game pick, especially with buff heavy decks. We have the Mad Scientist, Death Rattle, put a secret from your deck into the battlefield. With Hunters and Mage, I think we're going to be seeing a lot of this, not so much with Paladins, because their secrets are unpredictable. You need to know what's going your way if you're playing a Paladin, but yeah, this is going to be a definite pick for Hunters and Mages from now on. Echoing Ooze, summon an exact copy of this minion at the end of the turn. If you have a AoE buff deck with that focuses on stuff like Raid Leader, this thing is gonna be your bread and butter. I think it has a great battle cry. Haunted Creeper, summon 2 1/1 Spectral Spiders. This is not that great. I mean, it's a 2 cost for 1/2, and you get 2 lesser minions. I think it'll be good for Rushdown, but not much else. Stoneskin Gargoyle, at the start of your turn, restore this minion to full health. 3 cost for 1/4, it's decent, but you can't really do the damage to make that health restore worth it. Shade of Naxxramas, Stealth, at the start of your turn, gain +1/1. This is a 3 cost for 2/2, and the 1/1 at the end of each turn, if you put this into a very buff heavy deck like a Shaman or a Paladin, this is going to become one of the most dangerous cards in the game. I can just guarantee that. There's no reason to just use Questing Adventurer anymore when this thing exists and has Stealth with it. Dancing Swords, Death Rattle, your opponent draws a card. This is actually quite decent value, a 3 cost and 4/4. Though the card draw can be quite negative in the long term. Deathlord, Taunt, Death Rattle, your opponent puts a minion from their deck into the battlefield. This is a 3 cost for 2/8. This is a very good early game taunt. It's got a lot of health, but that minion summon can really backfire on you hard. Wailing Soul, Battlecry Silence, your other minions. 4 cost for 3/5. I think the silence can be put to interesting use, especially with debuffs. But I can't really see something other use for this minion. It's not great cost. The Chillwind Yeti costs the same and is much better. Sludge Belcher, Taunt, Death Rattle, summon a 1/2 slime with Taunt. Those are the same slimes that reproduce, so I think this is going to be good for Rushdown. 5 cost for 3/5, and well, there's not much else to say here. This just looks decent. Not much else aside from that. Spectral Knight can be targeted by spells or hero powers. 5 cost for 4/6. This is going to be very useful, especially when you're playing mages or warlocks. And I mean, yeah, this is just a bigger, heavier fairy dragon. That's good. That's something the game's actually quite need now. And now, finally, we have the big guns, the legendaries. First up, Baron Rivendare. Your minions trigger their Death Rattles twice. If you build a very Death Rattle-centric deck, this is gonna be the really good card for you to pick. 4 cost for 1/7. It's also got a nice bit of health, and you can buff it up to just ludicrous proportions. Stalag, 5 cost for 7/4. It's actually quite decent offensive card. And Death Rattle, if Fugan also dies this game, summon Thaddeus. Then we have his counterpart Fugan, 5 cost for 4/7. If Stalag also dies this game, summon Thaddeus. Thaddeus himself is a big 11/11 creature, and considering that Fugan and Stalag are actually quite good value on their own, and when they die they bring out this big ass thing, it's actually quite a decent package all around. Kel'Thuzad, at the end of the turn, summon all friendly minions that died this turn. This is going to be very dangerous for rushdown decks. If you just get a bunch of little creatures out there, you can swarm your enemy opponent down very fast. Maxana, 6 cost for 2/8. She basically has poison, meaning she destroys any minion damaged by her at the end of a turn. It's actually quite decent considering she has a lot of health, but the cost is a bit high for my taste. Then we have Lothad, Battlecry. Enemy spells cost 5 more next turn. This is going to be very good against spell-heavy decks like mages and warlocks. I'm considering it's a 5/5 for 5. That's quite decent value. And that's all, folks. Curse of Naxxramas hits 22 July. You can buy it with real-world money, or you can buy it with the in-game gold. The price is incredibly steep if you could choose to go that route. Check it out when it hits, let me know what you think, and if you want to support content on the main page, do check out our Patreon in the link below. Thank you very much for watching, and have a nice day.